will protect the e4 pawn, for one thing, so I probably need to think about that. Now that his rook's off the file, it's an interesting idea to consider me playing rook e8 here. Avoiding bishop h6. Now that his rook's on e1, there's some things in the dragon, some accelerated dragon lines where if white plays rook e1, then it's okay to play rook e8, because down the line when f4, f5, whatever happens, the f rook isn't there to put pressure on f7. But I think, I'm not really sure. Of course it's playable, typical cheater. I was thinking, but I really don't know. It looks like a very normal move. Non-committal, very solid. The semi-Slav is very strong, but it's like very theoretical. House of Gore plays Sicilian and Scandinavian. Yeah, I've kind of given up on playing the Scandinavian because it's every time I play it, I get a very difficult game. Although it's very good in blitz and fast-paced time controls. I've had too many situations where I played like the Scandinavian with knight f6 against a weaker player and had a hard time because he knew the theory. And more and more, I mean, players have a lot more information, so the average player has a lot more theoretical knowledge than they used to. I think that players are going to have to play better openings and rely less on sort of tricky openings. a3, very solid move. Yeah, that kind of takes the steam out of rook b8. You can play b4 now, though you would weaken the long diagonal. I might have to do some kind of plan with knight g4 here eventually. Bishop a6 loses a piece. That would have been an idea in some positions. I could even play bishop e6 to neutralize the bishop on c4, as long as he can't play e5 to damage my pawn structure. Okay, I'm going to do this now. Basically for lack of a better plan. Maybe in some kind of combination with the idea of rook b8. What does it mean to be theoretical? Well, obviously, we could try to find the definition in Webster's, but from a chess perspective, I guess it means something that's been analyzed in depth. Okay, so something that's not new, something not unexplored, something that's been analyzed already. So I think this is your first mistake, typical cheater. I mean, I don't think you should give up your dark squared bishop. My dark squared bishop is very, very strong and unopposed now. My plan was basically, at that point, if he goes bishop g5, I was going to play rook b8 to try to induce b4 when I have queen e5, which would threaten mate on h2, or a very nasty series of checks. Not mate, maybe, yes, king f1, and winning the pawn on h2, and winning the knight on c3. Queen takes e3 now. The whole situation has changed, and honestly, I'm going to try to keep this as simple as I can. Could play rook b8, but then b4. So this doesn't force a trade of queens, but I'm happy with a trade of queens here. And, you know, if he doesn't trade queens, he has to play some kind of very passive move. Yeah, but I'm glad that David Ostrom asked us this question. What does it mean to be theoretical? A lot of players, including myself, just toss around these chess terminologies and assume that people know what we mean, but language is a tricky thing, and especially if you're not a native English speaker, you might not understand what we're talking about. Even if you are a native English speaker, you're new to analyzing chess seriously, you may not understand. I think that was a good question, and he's probably not the only person that was wondering, you know, what exactly does it mean. So typical cheater, I don't think that rook e1 is a problem, but I do think that you should try to hold on to your dark square bishop. And there, I don't know if is it worth it to play queen c1 to keep the queens on the board? Well, probably not, because I have queen c5, and I think that White might be in deep trouble if he doesn't trade queens. He's in trouble now, but at least he's in the game. So I have one pawn island against two. And by pawn islands, we're talking about pawns that are connected, adjacent files, continuously. So I have one pawn island from h7 to b6, like in a dragon formation. It looks like a cat, actually. Don't use any kind of hallucinogenic drugs, because it does cause you to many times start to imagine there are strange shapes in the pawn formations. Rook e3. Now b5, b4 is interesting. I can play b5, b4. Try to break up. Yeah, it looks strong. But he does have bishop a2. Anyway, I'll play b5. Can't hurt to play b5. I'm not committed to playing b4. Green the music. I'm unrated USCF FIDE, but play for 25 years. What? On Lee Chess, I'm 2364. Is this a fluke? I think that... Well, by your comment, I'm guessing you're from the United States. You played for 25 years. Well... no, I don't think it's a fluke. You could easily be master strength by playing Blitz in the cafe and you know, legitimately be a master just without ever playing in a tournament. So I don't think it's a fluke, although it depends on how many games you've played. Yeah, this is a cat. You see the head of the cat. Yeah, the cat is lifting his tail. So b4 now. The cat was just... someone chopped off his tail now. It's not often you get a cat formation. It's, you know, I mean, that requires a seven pawn contiguous pawn chain, and it's just not easy to come by. I mean, I'm very lucky that typical cheater took on c6 and took on... But speaking of pawn chains, what's your favorite pawn formation? You guys have a favorite pawn formation? I vote for the cube. The pawn cube. Now there's this nasty move. So the rook is unprotected. So what about a pawn cubes? Pawn, what's going on here? Knight takes b2, knight takes b2, rook takes a3, bishop takes f7, king takes f7, rook takes a3. Yeah, you end up with a pawn down, and now we have to win the game again, basically. I guess I shouldn't have done this. I'm still better, but our cat was severed in half, and things might not be that easy here. I still like black, but we have a little better king. The c pawn looks very weak for white. Possibly the better minor piece. I wouldn't call it equal because white's structure is pretty dubious, but white has chances to hold. Maybe it is a draw, objectively. I think black has reason to try a little bit to play for a win. There's nobody voting for pawn cubes, or pawn diamonds are probably the strongest formation. The pawn diamond, you know, basically it has the one pawn at the base, and it's very hard to attack the base of the pawn diamond. If you guys don't know this book, by the way, Pawn Power in Chess by Hans Kmock, it's a very old book. But if you're not an advanced player and you've never read that book, I highly recommend it. A lot of people criticize the language because the guy invents kind of like arbitrary language to describe pawn formations. Well, I mean, you know, live with it. I mean, it's just a great revolutionary book for its time, and you know, make up your own words if you don't like if you don't like the and then typical cheater here, going with the liquidating move. I like it. I like it. Still feel like I'm a tiny bit better here. So I'm definitely not offering a draw until I'm sure that white is equal. He's got the Isolani, and my bishop is a little better than his knight, so it's not much, but oftentimes it doesn't take much to win a game. I think e5 was fine. And exchanging on d3, yeah, it brings his pawn more in the center. I think I'm going to pass. The bishop on g6 also protects my h7 pawn, which can be quite a liability. So this move, yeah, this move's gonna kill me, I think. I saw this, and I was just hoping that white wouldn't see it. Yeah, this is probably forcing a draw. Maybe we can try something, but after rook takes d6, he's gonna have knight e5 check. This knight e5 check, like c5, yeah. c5, rook takes d6, c4 was one idea, but he has several defenses against that, so I just have to make a draw now. There's just no way I can win this. Rook d1 is interesting. Then he has king e2. Well, I just have to take. I mean, there's nothing else I can do. So I missed the counter combination. Bishop takes b2, bishop takes f7 check. Then I saw it at the last minute and I thought, oh, it's okay, because I was up a pawn and I have a bishop, but I wasn't up a pawn. Yeah, so I'm pretty close to offering a draw here. Probably any minute if white, yeah. This is pawn. If the pawn was on f6 or something instead of h7, I could sort of try a few moves to play for a win, but as it is now, I'm going to be tied down to my h7 pawn, so I have basically almost no way to play for a win. And yeah, good game. Okay, good game, typical